Hey, welcome everyone. This is Mind Your Own Business. My name is Pablo, and thanks for listening. Hi, everybody. I have Marcus here with me. He's a sales coach, author, business leader, influencer. I'm so honored to have you here. So, Marcus, thank you for being here.
Hey, Pablo, it's my absolute pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
All right. The first question I always ask everyone is who do you help?
Super simple. So I help people who are like B2B sales professionals who are out there in the trenches, making cold calls, working with prospects, and helping change lives every single day.
I love it. And I'm curious to know your why. Do you have a motivation for that? Do you thrive on, your team growing, them, being super successful? Because I think your impact, the scope of your impact is actually pretty great.
No, I appreciate that, and yeah, thank you so much. I would say, early on, I probably wasn't really clear my why. As time has gone on, I think as I have taken more action, done more things, it's become more and more clear over time. And probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I really was able to boil down my why to probably three simple words. Right. So number one is legacy. So whatever I leave behind, people say, "Hey, I had a positive impact on them," which is important to me. Number two is influence, and I don't mean like an influencer type of way, but that the people I've interacted with, they're able to say Marcus positively impacted me. He helped me, whether it's directly or indirectly with his family, friends, or someone who came across my content that out there positively impacted. And then number three, I would say is love, and love in terms of whatever I do with care, focus, and intention, so people know I truly care. And that's probably how we got to talk to begin with, because when you had messaged me, I didn't just give you some canned response. I was actually intentional and thoughtful with how I respond, because I truly do care and I want to help you, even though we didn't know each other at the time.
Yeah, so for context, people out there, I basically reached out cold via LinkedIn to Marcus and just with one question about company culture. He gave me the most thorough, greatest response, like with his voice, with his approach, what he does. I then asked, "How do you fix it?" And he went beyond, and he even explained it to me. Me being still a stranger, and somehow we're not anymore, but that's how much you care. You had that conversation with a stranger, helped, like without asking for anything in return, and that's how this happened. So it's just an example of how how you can achieve things.
Mhm. Exactly.
So great. Now I wanted to go to and tackle the company culture here. Um, the very first question that comes to mind is, you have a pretty uh, established network, you have a good reputation, and you're a leader. So what do you think out there? What do you think is the biggest challenge teams face today when it comes to company culture?
Mm. So I think the issue I see pretty commonly across the board, and this is whether it's even today or even 5, 10, 15 years ago, is culture has become like a buzzword. Um, and I feel many companies, the actions they take go towards building a superficial culture. And culture is really created by the people and by the leadership. And I think just in the last, especially in the last decade plus, especially with a lot of, a lot of companies in the Silicon Valley, it's very much been focused on ping pong tables, beer kegs, and partying, and that's like the culture of what they think is going to keep people there. But I think in today's time, people want more than that, and they realize how that's quite superficial, and that's not actually true fulfillment in working for a company.
Yeah, I always tie that those perks. I mean, those are great, but I tie them back to just like feature. Like you shouldn't feature dump. Like for those who are not in sales, it's just basically don't focus on the how, but the why behind the situation, whatever. And so I see those perks as nice to haves, but culture is basically how, like, it's way deeper. So what I'm hearing you say is maybe no, not focusing entirely on those superficial nice to haves, but also going deep.
Hmm. Yeah. So when I think about this, is when you're building culture, what do you want? How do you want people to describe the culture? How do you want the employees to describe the culture? And when they only focus on superficial things, that's what you end up getting. But what do people truly want? What makes them stay around? And typically, things that are easily copied, like ping pong tables, pool tables, having kegs, those are very easily copied. That's not real culture, but it's really what goes beyond how they describe how they feel about the company. Because I think early on, if you're relatively young into working in a business or in a corporation, those things are very attractive. It's very cool. But then as you have a little more experience, then you realize those things actually don't make you happy. They're nice to have, and it's cool to have it, but there's things that are so much deeper that actually make you want to stay there, work hard, and do the things for the company that's beyond just the scope of your role.
And so that's great on paper. I wanted to bring a practical example here. Let's say you have a sales team. You do have a sales team, but let's say someone out there is in a sales team, and I'm curious to know from a sales leadership perspective, how do you increase that engagement from the team? How do you make them actually feel that connection with the team or with the company or vision, that they actually go the extra mile, perform and not only because they have to, because it's their job, but they actually want to.
Great question. So I think it's important to understand is the first piece of building culture or creating culture or just taking to the next level is how you hire. How you hire is probably one of the most important things. So bringing the right people in that kind of already align to what the true deep-seated values of the company are within there, but also within also the leadership as well. Now, I'm gonna give credit where credit's due, but some of the principles I'm gonna outline here to do increase engagement are from a book I read a long time ago called Carrots and Sticks That Don't Work. And it's by Paul Marciano, a fantastic book. And what he talks about inside there is the respect model. And respect is also an acronym, but also it's something very, very interesting where it's about how there should be mutual respect across the board from employee to employer to from employee to the leader, employee to the company. So it should go both ways. And when you think about any time in life where you are most upset with someone or someone or some company, it's usually because you feel disrespected. That's usually why you aren't happy with the company. Maybe your boss treated you badly. You don't feel like they care for you, or maybe the company implemented a new policy and it makes it feel like that you're not important anymore. You're just a number. And respect is one of those things where we don't talk about enough, but that's definitely a part of it. But when you go deeper, there's components within respect as a model that really determine how do you truly effectively build engagement. So let's kind of go step by step. So the first, like the R, stands for recognition. So in general, people are gonna when they first start, they're gonna do the work usually, but if they aren't getting recognized for the behaviors that they're doing, the work they're producing, and this is in any role, over time, they're just not gonna want to keep doing it. So that recognition of what they're doing is really, really important. This could be verbal, this could be written, this can be in many different ways. It doesn't have to be like, oh, good job, here's a raise. Sometimes the mere fact of having your boss tell you that you're doing a great job with something is really, really important. So that's like the R, that's the respect. Then there is empowerment. So giving the employees, the team, the training, the resources, the support to actually be able to make an impact. So not just do what I say, it's they actually have power. You empower them to be successful. That's wildly important because you can give them plenty of recognition, but if you're not empowering them to do their job well, eventually they're probably going to peter out. And then you go into the S, supportive feedback. Are you constantly giving them not just critical feedback to improve, but also supportive feedback? Are you recognizing the behaviors you want to continue to see? Then there's P, partnering, which is like, are you treating them like partners or is it like a boss employee relationship? Do you treat them like they're equal regardless of title so they feel comfortable having a conversation with you, so they actually want to work together and they feel you are helping them as well to be successful, so they're part of the organization? And then E, expectations. Is it really clear what the expectations of them are? This is something I see that is quite often missed, that people are not clear what's expected of me and how can I be successful, right? Then C, consideration. Do people feel like they're being treated like a human? Do you feel like that you actually care for them, or are you just another number? And this is what we've seen a lot, especially in a recession or tough times. Suddenly, considerations out the window. It's just a buzzword. It was never there, right? And then the last one is trust, right? Like, it does a company, does the leadership, does the team, the C-suite, do they follow through with their commitments? Is there a mutual trust that goes both ways? And when you're able to hit all these buckets right there, then that leads to just a very empowered employee when you have the right person in place. And then if you decide to do other superficial things like the ping pong tables, the beer Fridays or whatever, that's just extra stuff on top. But when you can get the foundation down like this will actually reduce your turnover and make it a better working environment for your people.
Oh, you hit the nail. I mean, that's great. I haven't thought about it that way. I have to, go get that book, like right after this call. But what I know people will think is, well, sounds like a lot. Sounds like I have to do so many things. But guess what? Churn and turnover and just losing great talent is impacting more the business versus doing these things that cost you quote unquote nothing in terms of money. Just they're willing to have the respect acronym there. So I know some people out there will be like, well, the math is like, yeah, take this effort, what's the output? And so, but you were so clear about like the last part, which is like, if you want a high performance team, more revenue or better performance. If you want to have like less churn and more happiness, quote unquote happiness at work, then this is the way.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, 100%. And it's is it hard to do? Yes, right? But it's even harder to be understaffed, and it's even harder to miss your number. So either way, it's gonna be hard, but if you can hire the right people and you utilize this model as a framework, and no one's perfect, but you just do your best, you'll retain more people, reduce turnover drastically. I mean, I took over an organization that had 40, 50, 60% turnover, reduced it down to 17%. And it wasn't because I was perfect, because they're still gonna have some turnover. But if you're able to reduce and minimize the casualties, and you actually help people become best version of themselves, suddenly you don't just have employees, you actually truly have a team of people that actually want to work, who want to show up and want to perform at a high level for you and for everyone else.
Yeah, that's the best case study right there. So I was about to ask, like, based on your experience, like, what actionable takeaways, one, two, three activities or things people can do today, but based on the respect approach, I think there's like I don't know, five there, but I'm curious to know, do you have something else that you would love to just talk to people about company culture, how to increase it, what to look, how to hire, or yeah, something that's out there that you want.
Well, here's how I always think about it, right? So when you look at a model like the respect model, what you have to think about is like, okay, that sounds cool in theory, but what are the specific tactical things that you can do consistently that's going to drive towards those behaviors? Like there's simple ones like trust, which is, I don't want to say simple, but it's simple as when you make a promise to follow through. That's seems relatively easy, but that's just about being a person with good character. That hopefully is relatively easy. Now, but when I think about ones like empowerment, right? You want when you think about each of those bullet points, what are specific things you can do to empower your people? And you have to build systems around that to help empower them. So let me give some specific examples. So when you want to empower, like when I was running a massive sales org, I knew once I brought someone in, one of the most important things was how well I effectively train and onboard them the first 90 days. So as part of my empowerment was making sure literally every day was planned, and I would refine over time. Every day was planned out with clear, specific objectives. Every single day they could accomplish, and things to measure and ways to measure their progress as they progress through. So that's a first piece of it. That's like one system. Okay. But the reality is you can't just bring someone in, train them really well for 90 days and like, good luck. That's just not how it works. So it has to be ongoing. So in addition to that, I also made sure not just for new employees, but also for all my whole team, every single week as part of the simple system was a one-on-one with them. Nothing crazy, but I simply had it on my calendar. I made sure I showed up and they were very clear what we would cover. We would make sure that we remove any obstacles they had. We made sure they walked away knowing exactly what to do next to get a desired objective. We made sure they felt heard, and it happened every single week. Again, that's a system. All right. I also incorporate systems like having a weekly training meeting. Again, nothing crazy. It's just a weekly training with every single week. In addition to the one-on-ones, we're training as a team to improve every single week. Again, we're empowering them. And then if they really need extra help, we even bolt an extra like role play session on Fridays. So again, to empower them even more. So we put these things in place, which are nothing crazy, but they're just simple system that you put in place. Then you just consistently do it, and you do it well, which will make your team better. So sometimes people think about, oh man, it's gonna be this whole thing. No, it really doesn't have to be. All you need to do is find some ways to support. Let me give you another example. So in terms of supportive feedback, it was really, really important that I gave the feedback, but also wanting to get feedback myself, which also helped with trust and also make me a better leader as well. Now, I would definitely do things like, obviously ask them for feedback directly, 101, but also I would do every 6 months, I would do anonymous surveys to my team. My company didn't ask me to do it. I just did it myself. It was like, hey, how would you rate this? What do you want to see more? What do you want to see less? And I'll make an anonymous service. I get all this feedback so I could really constantly improve. And then on top of that, I'll periodically out of the blue just call them every quarter for even 10 minutes to kind of check in when they're out of the office just to see what's going on, how I can best support them. Again, I'm not calling them to talk about numbers. I'm not calling them to reprimand them. I'm just calling, how's everything going? So when you start inserting these type of things, it adds up to your employees that you actually care because you do, because you're so consistent. And you can have these things in place, but if you only do it once, it means nothing. But if you are consistent over time, they will see it, and because they see everything, they will see the behaviors consistently happening, and they'll build trust and make them be more empowered to become a better version of themselves.
No, I think that's great. I think that's great. Um, I wish I had that earlier in my career, especially starting out. For context, I work in sales, and the sales world is very like fast paced. Everybody knows this. No one really wants to be in sales. Someone drag us there, and we then fall in love with it. But having that, even you mentioned partnership, having that partner next to you, being your leader, adds trust, adds everything we covered. So I think that's a great uh, way to end it. So my final question is always like, where do we find you online? You have the book, you have the coaching. Well, I guess LinkedIn would be one of those places. But yeah, where can people find you online?
Yeah, super easy. So, find me on LinkedIn, look up Marcus Chan. If you want a free copy of my Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Six Figure Sales, you could head to closewithchan.com and you can get a copy of the book for free as well. Just cover shipping and handling.
There you go. So make sure to go there. I'll add the links in the show notes. Marcus, thank you so much for the knowledge. Thank you for what you do. Lucky the people that work with you, and lucky myself that I got to have this conversation with you.
Thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Have a great day. Bye bye.
Yeah.